Hello and welcome to This Week at the Movies. I'm Matt, and I am diving into a big weekend for releases. There are three wide releases. I saw the most notable one, a couple of limited releases that are also out and available in theaters, and a few streaming options. I'm going to be looking at four of the movies that are available on this last weekend in September. But of course, I've got to kick things off with one of the most hotly anticipated films of the fall, and that is the latest from Paul Thomas Anderson, One Battle After Another. This one focusing on a couple of revolutionaries played by Leonardo DiCaprio and Tiana Taylor. We meet them as they're part of a group called the French 75 that are pulling jobs, starting a revolution, declaring war against the government. They kind of fall in love, and the spark and the action of this lifestyle gets to them. They fall in love. Uh, she becomes pregnant, later delivers a child. He wants them to live a maybe quieter life as a family, but she's not ready to give it up. Along the way, they come across and are being pursued by a steely, far right wing law enforcement officer played by Sean Penn. When Tiana Taylor's character Perfidia Beverly Hills gets captured after a job goes south, she ends up trading information about the rest of the group in order for her to not go to jail for a long time. That forces them on the run. A lot of the group gets captured, pulled in, and then we flash forward 16 years, and our hero, Pat DiCaprio, now going by Bob, is raising his teenage daughter, Willa, played by Chase Infinity. They're living a quiet life in a quiet town, but sooner or later, their nemesis, Colonel Lockjaw, played by Penn, comes after them back in their life and stirs things up. This is a really fun and interesting film from Paul Thomas Anderson. He has made some incredible and incredibly engaging dramas. This one has a lot of interesting ideas. A lot of good dramatic sequences. It feels very timely with some of the hot button political topics that it touches on and that it looks at as part of this. There are a whole lot of things to like. I don't really want to spoil it for you because it's better to go in knowing just the bare bones outline of what's going on. You can kind of get that from the trailers. And it's better to just kind of experience and discover this one. I think Leonardo DiCaprio gives a great performance in the lead role. I really liked him, but this supporting cast is amazing. DiCaprio, a lot of his sequences with Benicio del Toro, who plays local sensei, and Revolutionary, who helps him when things get tough, are incredible. Their back and forth is incredible. This has been a great year for Benicio del Toro. I loved him in the Phoenician Scheme. I really love him in this part here. He and DiCaprio together provide some of the lighter comedic moments in this film, and you need some of that lighter comedic moments to break up some of the heavier, big, dense ideas in this. But this is just a beautiful movie that has an incredible closing third act action sequence as well. I thought it was beautifully shot. It was really well put together. And I love the coda of this film. There are some deeply felt emotional moments as well. I was blown away by Chase Infinity. I think that she is great carrying some of the heavier and more emotional sequences of the film. She does an incredible job in this role of Willa as the daughter. Some beautiful moments opposite DiCaprio, some funny moments opposite DiCaprio early, some beautiful moments in the third act that really resonated. And I thought Sean Penn was marvelous too as this villainous character, and his whole arc and the way that plays out worked really well for me. I just think this is one of Paul Thomas Anderson's best films, and it is so far my number one film for the year. I'm giving it 2 thumbs up. Um, I love this movie. I and I thought it really delivered. It's a great way to end September, great way to spring into these kind of last few months where we're going to be getting a flood and a torrent of Oscar films. I think this one's going to be right up there. It should be in Best Picture contention. I loved it a lot. I really do hope people don't forget about Sinners, but those are my top two right now. And I just thought both of them were great, very different films, but some great performances, some great productions, some great directing. So if you are on the fence and you like Paul Thomas Anderson, you like A Well Told Story, head out and see One Battle After Another. Well, there are some other options in theaters. I'm going to touch on a couple that are some smaller films that are sneaking in there. First is Dead of Winter. If you are a fan of the Cinemark Secret movie series, or maybe AMC's Screen Unseen, Dead of Winter got a early look on there on Monday night. This one features Emma Thompson. It's kind of almost a little bit of a Fargo-esque type plot, but basically a woman who's traveling through far snowbound Minnesota. She's on a mission to find this lake where she and her husband used to go fishing. You find out through the course of the film why this is so important to her. You get some flashbacks of who she is in her early life. But while she's out there, she sees a young girl running, getting kidnapped, and she can't help but be drawn in to help. She ends up confronting the people that did it, played by Mark Menchaca and Judy Greer. The reasons for why they're doing it become a little more clear as it rolls out, but she is alone, cut off from communication in the kind of frozen north, but compelled to action. Different kind of role for Emma Thompson. You know, we think of her in maybe period dramas or some more serious roles. This is more of an action film. Feels almost like, you know, the kind of late stage career turn that Liam Neeson took, although not quite as much of a shoot 'em up as that. But she does a really good job here. Her character is really the only one, though, that has any kind of three-dimensional depth, and that is in part due to these flashbacks and to us piecing together her life and her motivations. You don't really know much about the girl that she's trying to help. You don't learn much about the people that took her. In fact, they don't even really have names in this movie, and that works okay enough. She comes across a few other people who don't really, um, you know, aren't characters enough to even have names. This is really all about her character. It's not a very long film, runs just over 90 minutes. So that makes it kind of a shorter commitment. It's an interesting set piece, an interesting setup, and had a decent run and a decent ending. I didn't love the film. I'm giving it thumbs neutral. I thought it was fine. It was an interesting watch. It was a different kind of part for Emma Thompson, but it just didn't fully come together. A different kind of part too for Judy Greer, who is a little more vicious, you know, in this movie than you typically see her. It was interesting. You know, if you like those kind of set pieces and that kind of a just bleak and frozen atmosphere, this one will work for you a little bit better. Next up, the directorial debut for Scarlett Johansson, the film Eleanor the Great. This one stars June Squibb as a 94-year-old woman who loses her best friend, someone that she had spent years with, including years living with. Her daughter, played by Jessica Hecht, comes and picks her up and moves her back to live in New York City. There, she's kind of adrift, trying to figure out what to do. She ends up stumbling into a Holocaust survivors group and ends up giving the information and story of her friend Bessie, who was a Holocaust survivor who had died, who she knew so intimately. That catches the eye of a young girl named Nina, played by Erin Kellerman, who turns out to be a journalism student and wants her to go on record and share the story. And Eleanor is torn between telling the truth and this blossoming new friendship that fills a hole in her life that she's had since she lost her friend. This one, another probably, you know, it's just around 90 minutes, so not a really long film, but a very interesting one that works really well because of June Squibb. She is a delightful actress. I liked her really a lot. Last year, she had a smaller indie where she was in the lead role, and another one here where she's in the lead role. She really sells this. Her humor, some of her throwaway back and forth lines with her daughter, with neighbors, with the cab driver are a whole lot of fun. Her relationship to Aaron Kellerman's character is a lot of fun. And even though this is kind of a tough story at times because of Eleanor's actions and because of this lie that just keeps blooming and blossoming that you know is going to come back, can't help but root for her and invest in her. I thought this was completely charming, due in large part to her work. I thought Scarlett Johansson does a nice job behind the camera. The movie moves at a good pace, has some good performances, has some really creative shots. I'm giving this one a thumbs up. I really enjoyed it. It is worth seeing just for June Squibb's work alone. I thought this was fun. This is a little bit of good counter programming to the heavier aspects of One Battle After Another. Well, I'm not going to leave you just with theater options. Last but not least, there is a new streaming film on Apple TV Plus. All of You, starring Brett Goldstein and Imogen Poots. Goldstein actually co-wrote the screenplay with the film's director, William Bridges. This one's set in the near future. We follow a couple of friends who have been friends for a long time, very close friends since they went to university. Simon, played by Brett Goldstein, and Laura, played by Imogen Poots. They live in a time where there is now a test you can take that tells you exactly who your soulmate is. Simon remains a skeptic, not interested in that, but Laura wants to go take the test, so Simon goes with her, even helps pay for the test. She takes that test, gets matched with a soulmate despite the obvious kind of connection and maybe a little bit more with Simon. We see how this plays out over the space of years and probably decades based on how some of the things go as they follow their own paths. Imogen going with the man that she is paired with, Lucas, played by Stephen Creed, and starting a life there. Simon getting hooked up with different people, including getting paired up with Andrea, played by Zoe Ashton, who is also a skeptic about the test, and we see how it plays out, but still this polarizing connection between Simon and Laura. Will they ever acknowledge it? Will it ever work out? We've seen this kind of take on determined love and romance before. There was even an entire AMC TV series about it in 2020. So that kind of idea isn't new. This is really going to be about the characters, the will they, won't they aspect. There are pieces of it that work. There are parts of the script that are funny. It bounces through time pretty liberally, which sometimes leaves you as an audience member to pick up contextual clues to piece things together, exactly what's happening, maybe how much time has passed. So it's very unclear in that way because it wants to be focused on the interactions between Laura and Simon and their relationship and the difficult struggle, of whether they should follow this predetermined test and whether it actually knows the real them or whether they should follow their heart and natural chemistry. There are aspects of the way their relationship plays out that probably won't sit well with some people that I didn't fully appreciate. The ending is a little dim and unsatisfying as well. I'm giving this one a thumbs neutral. I thought it was okay. I really like Brett Goldstein. I've loved his work in Ted Lasso and on Shrinking and his writing on Shrinking, but this doesn't quite work for me. I know it was a passion project for Bridges and there was probably something deeper they wanted to go for here, but it just isn't the kind of story that I was looking for, so it doesn't totally come together for me. But that's a wrap on this week. Run out and see One Battle After Another. It is well worth seeing. Next week, when we come back, we will be into October. It is hard to believe, and I'll be looking at Benny Safdie's new film, The Smashing Machine, featuring Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt. And there is another Apple original, The Lost Bus, which takes a look at the campfire in 2018. So I will be looking at those, maybe a few other things, also Killian Murphy and Steve on Netflix. So we are just getting started. We're going to really start cooking here in October. A lot of releases, a lot of ones that have some big Oscar hopes and dreams. So looking forward to the fall, looking forward to seeing what all comes out. But until then, I'll see you guys at the movies.